Yeah, I'm still here, still trying as ever to get more views for my video. Um, One thing I've never mentioned, which I might just mention, is how about subscribing? Wouldn't that be a good idea? Because I would like to get some more subscribers, to be honest. So, what have we got for you today? One of the most overused phrases in organizations is we need to get back to business as usual. Really? Because I'm not entirely convinced that business as usual actually exists anymore. In fact, I go so far as to say I would argue that for many organizations, business as usual is one of the biggest myths in modern business. Now, before you start sharpening your knives, okay, or sharpening your claws, should I say, let me explain what I mean. Historically, the phrase business as usual, or BAU, to give it its title, implied stability. A relative steady environment, predictable markets, established processes, incremental change, a world where organizations could actually make a change, embed it, and stabilize it, and then carry on operating normally for a reasonable period of time before the next big disruption arrives. But take a look around us now. How many organizations genuinely operate in a stable environment anymore? Technology changes constantly, customer expectations revolve rapidly, markets shift overnight, regulations change, the political landscapes change, doesn't it? Just economic conditions fluctuate, competitors appear from nowhere. Yeah, artificial intelligence is absolutely rewriting the rules, job roles, and entire industry. And internally, organizations restructure endlessly, systems are upgraded continuously, processes are reviewed repeatedly, cost cutting never seems to stop, leaders come and go, priorities change every quarter. So let me ask again, what exactly is business as usual? Because for many employees, constant change is business as usual. And I think this matters enormously for change managers, project managers, leaders, and organizations, because the outdated idea of BAU creates several dangerous assumptions. The first dangerous assumption is that organizations eventually settle down. Many change initiatives are still designed with this thinking in mind. There's often an assumption that if we can just get through this project, this transformation, this restructuring, then things will actually calm down. But guess what? They don't. Yeah? One change simply rolls into the next. Employees barely finish adapting to one initiative before another one arrives. This creates a very different organizational reality from the one many traditional change methodologies were originally built around. The second dangerous assumption is that people resist change because they prefer stability. I'm not sure that's always true anymore. Okay, I think many people have actually become remarkably adaptable. What they resist is not necessarily change itself. They resist things like confusion, contradiction, poor damn leadership, lack of clarity, constant shifting priorities, being totally overloaded, being treated like a cog in a machine. And many employees now expect change. What exhausts them is relentless uncertainty without meaning or direction, and that distinction matters. There is a third dangerous assumption, which is the idea that operational teams somehow sit outside of change. Yes, you still hear language like the project team will deliver the change and then hand it over to BAU, but operational teams are often changing while the project is actually running. They're dealing with restructure, staffing shortages, marketing pressures, customer complaints, compliance demands, and technology changes all at the same time. So the neat separation between change activity and normal operations is often artificial. The two are now permanently intertwined, and perhaps this is where change management itself needs to continue evolving. For years, many change approaches have focused on moving people from a current state to a future state. But what if the future state never truly stabilises? What if organisations now exist in a semi-permanent state of transition? That changes the conversation completely, okay? Because the focus can no longer simply be on helping people survive, okay? One change. The focus may need to shift towards helping organisations and individuals build ongoing adaptability, resilience, critical thinking and decision-making capability. In other words, maybe successful organisations are no longer the ones that achieve stability. Maybe, just maybe, they are the ones that function effectively despite instability. Now, I know what some people will say. Hey, well, Ron, organisations still need operational consistency, don't they? Okay, kind of. Yes, they do, because customers still expect services, employees still need clarity, processes still matter, governance still matters. Yeah, but now I'm not suggesting organisations descend into chaos at all, but I do think we need to stop pretending that there is some magical destination out there where change ends and normality permanently resides. Because employees don't experience work that way anymore. And frankly, many leaders don't either. Okay, there is also a danger in constantly talking about returning to normal, because it can unintentionally undermine the reality people are living in. If employees hear leadership repeatedly describing change as temporary while experiencing constant disruption year after year, credibility starts to erode. People stop believing the narrative, to be honest, and trust matters enormously during change. Don't we just know it? I also think that the myth of BAU has implications for organisational well-being. Many organisations still manage change as if employees have long recovery periods between initiatives, but often they don't. People are carrying cumulative fatigue, cumulative uncertainty, cumulative frustration, and if leaders fail to recognise this ongoing load, they risk burnout, disengagement, cynicism, and declining performance. This is why I often say that organisations need to become better at pacing change, not just delivering change, because even adaptable people have their limits, don't they? Now, does this mean change management becomes less important? No, it actually doesn't. Yeah. In my opinion, it becomes more important than ever. But perhaps the role evolves. Perhaps change managers become less focused on managing isolated initiatives and more focused on helping organisations build cultures that can absorb and navigate continuous change more intelligently and humanely. That's a very different challenge and perhaps a much harder one. So maybe it's time we started being more honest. Maybe BAU is no longer a destination. Maybe it's simply a label organisations use to describe whatever level of chaos they've temporarily learned to live with. Perhaps the real challenge for modern organisations is not returning to BAU, but learning how to operate successfully in a world where continuous change is BAU. Well, I think that was a bit of a long one, wasn't it? Over 9 minutes. So thank you for listening. But I think it's an important aspect in today's change ecosystem. BAU, is it real or isn't it real? Thanks again. Cheers.